Before I begin today's video, I want to give a shout out to Caleb's Cave of Collectibles for being a $5 or above tier member. And you also can become a member of my channel by clicking on the link in the description below. What's going on, you guys? Welcome to Sector for Nerds. Today I'm here to give you guys my thoughts on Star Wars The Bad Batch Season 3, Episode 12, Juggernaut. Make sure you guys like this video and subscribe to the channel. Also, consider becoming a member. A lot of great perks to come with it. Click in the link in the description below to learn more. So as far as this episode of The Bad Batch goes, you guys, I feel like I don't have as much to say this week. This week was definitely a shorter episode, right? Like when I went on Disney Plus and I saw the 22-minute runtime, and when you look at the 22-minute time mark, you also have to consider like, well, there's at least like 3-4 minutes of credits in there. So it kind of takes the episode down to about 18 minutes, right? And you've got the intro as well. I knew that it was going to be a short one this week. And I could see that being a complaint, but at the same time, I thought this was a decent episode. I thought it was short, sweet, to the point. It did everything that it set out to accomplish. I guess the main things that I'm kind of upset about coming out of the episode is a couple minor things. Maybe not minor, but maybe I guess I'll let you guys decide. It kind of annoyed me when Crosshair was like, yeah, you know, I actually do know of a way to get to Tantiss, and like, I'm only telling you guys about this now. Like, sorry I didn't tell you earlier when we were with the rest of our brothers that wanted to know more about Tantiss. I've decided to wait until this very moment, like much later in the game, to finally tell you guys. But I don't know how to actually get to Tantiss myself, but I know of someone that could help us get to Tantiss. And that person being Admiral Rampart, of course. Which it was interesting to hear his name get brought up because it's been a minute since we've seen him. Now, I'll admit, when he first took off the helmet and everything, I was like, who is this guy? Are we supposed to know him? And then when I saw him a second time, I heard the voice and I'm like, oh, that's Rampart. Yeah, I could have pieced that one together, Ryan. But then the other thing that annoyed me is after they finally rescue him, he's like, well, I don't know how to get to Tantiss, but I know of a way of figuring out how to get to Tantiss, and it feels like we're just kind of in the same boat that we were at the start of this episode. It's like no one really knows how to get to Tantiss. I was really hoping that when Crosshair said, well, you know, I think there is a way to get to Tantiss, I immediately thought like, oh my god, he did plant a second tracker on her. Oh my gosh, Crosshair, that a boy. But no, it's just I know of someone that knows how to get there. And I'm like, oh, okay, it's going to be one of these episodes. Now, don't get me wrong. I did enjoy the Juggernaut portion of this episode. Bad Batch hijacking one and then eventually using it to go up against another one. As far as my Bad Batch member of the week for this week, you guys, I've decided, you know what, for the first time ever in the history of this segment that I've started, I'm going to award it to not one, not two, but three people. And that's just all three members of the Bad Batch that were in this episode. Hunter, Wrecker, and Crosshair. Everyone had their role to play. Everyone played it to perfection. Hunter being the one driving that Juggernaut around, navigating them through the barricades and everything. Wrecker mounting the weapons, because of course it's my guy Wrecker. He's the weapons dude. And then Crosshair for, you know, I guess giving them the information, even if it was a little bit late. But also he did take out Rampart when Rampart tried to, you know, make his getaway. So like I said, everyone had their part to play. We do get Omega in this episode at the very start of it and at the very end. At the start, she's talking with Emery, and Emery's like, glad to know that she's safe. Like, she says, for what it's worth, I'm glad you're safe. And Omega just looks at her and goes, am I? And then at the very end of this episode, Hemlock takes Omega over to the cell where all the children are that we meet 2 episodes ago. I feel like there's going to be some kind of big battle scene that goes down between the Republic commandos that are guarding this prison and then maybe like the clones that go to Tantiss. Just the way that it's shot and everything, it always kind of reminds me of Mando Season 3 when Moff Gideon is walking to like his headquarters or whatever, and you would see all those like sentry droids or whatever guarding him, and you're like, okay, like these guys are going to end up being used eventually. Speaking of The Mandalorian, you guys, after my brother and I watched this episode, he did say to me that it reminded him a lot of the Mayfield episode in Season 2 where they go to rescue him, except like this was a much shorter version of that, which I could definitely see. It's one of those kinds of episodes where it's like, okay, we're not getting to the place that we want to go to, but we're getting to a place that can potentially get us to the place that we're trying to get to. But again, my only criticism of that is the fact that it didn't feel like at the end of this episode, oh, okay, we're finally going to Tantiss. We still have another step before we get there. Whereas usually what they'll do in situations like this, like if it comes to the Mandalorian, right? Like Grogu gets captured, then the next episode we got to figure out a way to how to find him, right? And then we finally get to rescuing him. It's the same thing in Star Wars Rebels with Kanan. Kanan gets captured. The next episode we got to find out information on how to get to Kanan, and then the next episode is finally getting to Kanan. So they're switching up the format a little bit. They're kind of prolonging things. And I think with that in mind, I believe that next episode, we're probably going to see a lot more of Omega and the children. My guess is it's going to center on them, with maybe like a little bit from Hunter, Wrecker, and Crosshair, with Rampart now. I don't want them to turn Rampart good. Rampart's a piece of crap. Just like I don't want Sid to help them either. And speaking of Sid, you guys, I am so glad that we have not seen an ounce of her in this season, and I hope it stays that way. No more Sid. But yeah, you guys, I think that's all I've got to say about this episode. Like I said, it was a short, sweet, to the point episode. Even with my complaints, it set out what it is that it needed to do, and I guess we'll see what happens next week. So make sure you guys are staying tuned for that as I give you guys my thoughts on Star Wars The Bad Batch each and every Wednesday. We then got freaking Tales of the Empire coming up after that, and then about a month after that, we're going to have the Acolytes. So a lot of content from me, you guys, to look forward to. Hopefully you guys are excited. Make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, share this video with others to help support the channel, and I will see you guys next time.